must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
This year again, we augmented this by announcing the cessation of movement into and out of a number of counties. Later on, more measures were announced to contain the havoc visited upon us by the COVID-19 pandemic. Given this trajectory and the fact that this crisis requires, unfortunately, a long-term strategy, we took time to reflect on what must be done. If we lift the cessation of movement ban, how will this help each and every one of us fight the pandemic? And indeed, if we do not, how does this ban continue to affect our economy, especially our micro business enterprises and those who derive their livelihoods from them? So, fellow Kenyans, to answer these questions, we turn to our brain trust, our experts, some of whom are standing behind us, a team made up of the finest doctors and research scientists, as well as public practitioners, and we turn to them for counsel. And it must be admitted that opinion was divided on how we are to advance against this virus. Some, myself included, wanted us to open up now. That was and is still my desire. I know we all want to open up at the earliest opportunity and get our economy going. Me more so, as Kenya, as you all know, was recently ranked the third largest economy in sub-Saharan Africa. But others held a contrary position, and they were borrowing from history, scientific modeling, and also current experiences the world over to argue against mass reopening at this stage. Therefore, with these two viewpoints on the table, we must accept that we're not dealing with a right and a wrong opinion. We are caught in between two rights. Those who want to open are right, and those opposed to opening are also right. And this clash of two rights placed us on the horns of dilemma. In the absence of scientific consensus amongst experts in the medical, research, and public sectors, I asked for some scenarios. I wanted to know the worst-case scenario and the best options that are available to us in order to contain the disease without affecting the economy irreversibly. I wanted these scenarios built around raw facts, because we have decided as a country to combat this pandemic in an open and transparent manner. Fellow Kenyans, we must speak truth to each other. Had we not taken the stringent measures that we did in March of 2020, the rate of infections in Kenya would have peaked to 800,000 people by July 30th of this year. And if, as we have seen is the case, that one infected person has the potential to infect 2 people, this number would have hit 2.4 million people in 21 days. By the end of August this year, had we not taken the actions that we have taken, approximately 75,000 Kenyans would have lost their lives from this virus. But because we took interventions early, we have recorded only 2,600 infections with 83 deaths. So therefore, fellow Kenyans, if this is the worst case scenario, we wanted to know what the other scenarios look like. So if today we put in place all the necessary interventions and relax these by only 20%, what would this look like? According to the experts behind me here, relaxing interventions by 20% would lead to 200,000 infections and 30,000 deaths by December of 2020. Further, if we relax the interventions by 40%, the infections will peak in November with 300,000 infections and 40,000 deaths. If we were to go even further and relax them by 60%, the pandemic will peak in October with 450,000 infections and 45,000 deaths. Although these projections are generated by a model, our experts have shown us hard evidence suggesting that countries which opened up without proper protocols also experienced serious waves or secondary waves of infections. Spike of infections were, for instance, experienced when religious gatherings were allowed in South Korea, Pakistan, and Malaysia. So if this is our new reality, and we face the dilemma of easing restrictions or continuing with them, the question then is, what must we do as a country? What is our irreducible minimum for reopening the country? What is the threshold below which we cannot go? Once again, according to the professionals with us here, the irreducible minimum for lifting restrictions has 3 thresholds. 1, to open up, the infections must be contained and the number of infections and deaths must be headed downwards. This is currently not the case in our country. 2, our healthcare system must be prepared sufficiently to take on a surge in infections. It must not be overwhelmed at any one point during this pandemic. Access to testing, isolation, and quarantine must be a bare minimum in our health facilities. This is not currently the case. 3, the capacity for surveillance and contact tracing must also be fully in place across the country. So the question then we must all ponder together, fellow Kenyans, is whether we have met this threshold or these three thresholds in order to lift the restrictions. Have the cases, as I have said, of infections taken a downward turn, for instance? The answer is definitely no. We are seeing an increase. Have we met the second minimum of prepared health systems with isolation? Again, as I said, the answer is no. And I just give two examples. Siaya County has only a 10-bed isolation facility, and already they have admitted 9 COVID patients from only one incident. Similarly, Busia County has a 34-bed isolation facility, and 2 days ago that facility was full. So fellow Kenyans, if there is a surge in infections in just these 2 counties, the healthcare system will most definitely be overwhelmed. So the hard question to pose here is whether Kenyans are prepared to nurse COVID-19 patients in their homes if our healthcare system cannot handle the numbers. Are they prepared to expose their children, to expose the elderly to COVID-19 patients in the close proximity of home? And yes, we have dispersed Kenya shillings 5 billion to the counties in order to assist them increase their healthcare capacity in view of this pandemic. But to build the necessary health infrastructure for such an undertaking requires time. We must get ahead of this pandemic by creating lead time. So therefore, fellow Kenyans, while considering the possibility of de-escalating the containment measures in place and conscious that health is a shared function between the national and county governments, I have convened today an extraordinary session of the National and County Government Coordinating Summit on Wednesday, the 10th day of June, to consider the following salient matters. First, to review the effectiveness of the containment measures we have taken so far, those that have been rolled out to break the chain of transmission of the coronavirus disease. The second, to secure the undertaking of every county government to deliver isolation facilities with at least a minimum of 300 beds. And thirdly, within 14 days, to develop time-bound protocols for progressive reopening of the economy. Fellow Kenyans, with my colleagues and having applied our minds to the different scenarios presented by our experts, I have reconciled myself to the fact that to open or not to open is not a dilemma between a right and a wrong. It is a dilemma between 2 rights. And because of this, and fully cognizant of the irreducible minimum given by our experts, and in keeping with the advice of the National Security Council, I today hereby direct an order as follows. That the cessation of movement into and out of Eastleigh area of Nairobi and the specific limitations in force with respect to the Old Town area of Mombasa that is currently in force shall lapse at 4 a.m. on the 7th of June 2020. That in view of the successful containment of the disease in the counties of Kilifi and Kwale, the cessation of movement into and out of the two counties that is currently in force shall also lapse at 4 a.m. on the 7th of June 2020. 3. That following stakeholders' consultations in the education sector, the Ministry of Education, jointly with the Ministry of Health, issue and publicize guidelines on a gradual and progressive return to normalcy in the education sector by the third term, that is, from the 1st of September 2020. Further, that the Ministry of Education shall announce the new school calendar by the middle of August. As you are aware, on Madaraka Day, I did direct that the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Health, hold consultations with interfaith and religious organizations. So today, we state that following these consultations, within 7 days of today, the Ministries of Interior and Health will constitute an interfaith council to work out modalities and protocols of reopening of our places of worship. 5, that in the meantime, the ban on all forms of gatherings, including but not limited to political gatherings, social gatherings, including bars, be and is hereby extended for a further 30 days. That due to the evolving nature of the disease globally, international travel restrictions are hereby extended. In the meantime, the Ministry of Transport is directed within 7 days from the date hereof to engage all key stakeholders and develop protocols and guide resumption of local air travel. That due to the increase in patterns of infections, the cessation of movement into and out of the Nairobi metropolitan area, Mombasa and Mandera be further extended by 30 days. That the nationwide dusk to dawn curfew, currently in force until today, the 6th of June 2020, is extended for a further 30 days. However, the commencement time for the same shall be varied from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., with the end time for the same being varied from 5 a.m. to 4 a.m. Therefore, effective 7th June 2020, the nationwide dusk to dawn curfew will run from 9 p.m. in the evening to 4 o'clock or 4 a.m. in the morning. This variation should enable Kenyans to have a full workday schedule. Fellow Kenyans, recognizing the negative impact of the COVID-19 is not limited to healthcare. As I have said before, my administration has made targeted interventions to protect our economy. At the onset of the pandemic, my administration injected 216 billion back into the economy through tax refunds, rebates, and waivers. In our second phase, we have further rolled out 53.7 billion under an 8-point stimulus package to reinvigorate our economy. Each week, the government is distributing approximately 300 million shillings a week to the most vulnerable members of our society, on top of Kazi Mitaani, which is also being extended to cover more counties. Also on Madaraka Day, I did announce that a further Kenya shillings 2 billion would be injected into the hospitality industry to cushion those in that industry from the effects of this pandemic, and modalities of how these resources will be shared are to be released next week, with priority given to ensuring that our workers in this sector are assisted to retain their jobs. Finally, I wish to assure each and every Kenyan that I shall do all that is necessary to limit the negative effects of COVID-19 on our people, our economy, and our way of life. Rest assured that my administration will continue to work to restore our lost livelihoods, our lost opportunities, and our lost wealth. As I have said before, I continue to call upon all Kenyans, particularly landlords and employers, to put people before profits during these testing times. Permit me to close by saying what I have always said, that this disease is beatable if we work together. Listen to and apply the regulations, the guidelines and protocols issued by the Ministry of Health, and let us all keep our eyes on slaying the enemy. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless Kenya. I'll take 2 questions, and then I will leave the experts who have been advising us to continue with the rest of the session.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon to
my
you.
My name is Gashuri from
Yes, Gashuri, I know you.
How are you, sir?
I'm well, and you?
Very well.
Good.
I'm sure you've seen the expectations, many of them from Kenyans who are hoping that you will do something to release them. But be it as it may, the main question is the question of sustenance, livelihoods. People are complaining, people are lamenting that they are no longer able to sustain themselves. Is there a possibility of expanding the list of beneficiaries from the money that is being given every week to cover even those who are not initially listed among the most vulnerable, because there seems to be an enlarging group of people in dire need to sustain their livelihoods? Thank you.
Like I said, in full recognition of what you have said, Gashuri, this is why we have been releasing, like I'm saying, approximately 300 million shillings. And this is over and above the 10 billion that we release every year, no, the 30 billion, sorry, that we release every year to the most vulnerable in our society. And I do agree with you that there are some sectors, especially the hospitality sectors, the hotels, the small restaurants, the bars, and so on and so forth, that have been closed, and a number of people in those areas have also been affected. That is why on Madaraka Day, we said that we are expanding that program by a further 2 billion shillings in order to be able to capture those people in those sectors and to also ensure that we are cushioning them during this difficult time as we work towards reopening. But ultimately, we have no choice. We will do what we can to continue to support livelihoods. We recognize that that's where the challenge is. And we will do what we can to support all our citizens, especially those most affected. And we will continue to do that. So I want to assure you that we have that in mind and we are taking action on it. And as I've said, the Joint Ministerial Committee that was put together to make consultations with those in those most seriously affected industries.
The mask as it is the order of the day around Africa and the world. Thank you very much, viewers. Good afternoon, viewers. Good morning. In America, good morning. In London, it's just midday. Good morning wherever you are. Good night in Australia, down under the South America. Thank you very much, viewers, for watching Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting from Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya. Thank you, viewers. This is Africa Showdown. Events on the continent. What dominates the events on the continent? What is coming out of Africa? How do we receive the news from other continents? In America, 20 US dollars is burning the country. A man, because of color, he went to a shop where a white man in a grocery doubted his note, and we have burned the country. The biggest economy in the world is on fire. What about back to us in Africa? That is the type of exchange we want to conduct this afternoon with my panel. More people will join in from Khartoum. Maybe there's network problem, and we were looking for Professor Onyari all the way from Nairobi, wherever he is. I was also linking up with Professor Dr. Jesse Mashate all the way from London, the United Kingdom. But since they have left us the job, let's hammer the job. Let's be with our people on the continent as usual. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Miriam Ogutu, right from the headquarters of Punchline Africa Television. Beautiful, fantastic. I like the way things are now down. COVID-19, further extension. She's going to tell us more. The whole of these 2 weeks, we have been the same with her. We talked until the voices went, and they have congratulated me for my voice coming back. Thank you very much, Miriam Ogut at the headquarters.
A very good afternoon.
Below us. Yes, thank you. Finish up, warm the microphone.
And a very good afternoon to you. And I think after introducing the next panel, we can perhaps look at the figures. But yes, good afternoon to our viewers who are watching us today.
Miriam will bring the next figures that since we are looking after Africa, we shall read them phase by phase. We shall begin with East Africa, then continue with others, because East, West, Jerusalem and Bethlehem is the best. Although prophets are never liked in their own place of birth. Paul wasn't a prophet, but he was never liked where he was born. So don't worry about those who say you should be talking about my country or this country. Let's get down below us is one man, investigative journalist himself, Daniel, with song of Punchline, Part 3. Say, well, our man behind the shadows. Today, we decided to bring him on the shadow itself. That he be seen right now. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, all of you. Miriam, update us. Warm us up.
All right. Good afternoon to you, to Daniel, are you watching us? And I think you'll join us soon. So right now, as it stands, Kenya has confirmed cases of 2,683 deaths have been recorded in the country. Recoveries right now stands at 706. Uganda, the numbers also have gone up there. The country now has 593 cases. 82 people have recovered and no deaths have been reported so far in Uganda. And Zimbabwe, the cases right now stands at 279 with 4 deaths. Recoveries is at 33. And South Sudan, the numbers right now still, since Thursday, they've not updated us. But right now the cases are at 1,317, 14 deaths and 6 recoveries. And Sudan, 6,081 cases, 359 deaths. And I might say that in the region, Sudan seems to be having the high number of deaths reported there, and recoveries in Sudan is at 2,014. I have to bring in Madagascar because of the COVID organic, and right now the cases there in Madagascar is at 1,026. 8 people have died, 212 of them have recovered. Somalia, 2,289 cases, 82 deaths, 431 recoveries. And Rwanda, 431 cases, 2 deaths and 283 recoveries. South Africa, 45,973 cases. The death toll in South Africa is 952. 24,258 people have recovered. And in Burundi, 83 cases. You see, the cases have gone up, Doctor, since that election that happened there. It has doubled now, with 1 death reported and 45 others recovering. And Nigeria, 12,233 cases, 342 deaths, 3,826 recoveries. And we go to, I think, Cameroon, 7,392, cases, 205 deaths, 4,575 recoveries there. Just a few African countries this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Miriam. That is what the much we can do right now. And we shall look at Kenya. Kenya today stands as a case study. You know, our topic today is very, very nicely, and we want to test Mr. Wesonga to tell us the topic. What is the topic of the day today on Africa Showdown?
Yes, Dr. Masanga. So the topic of today is should Africa ease a restriction or lockdown on the COVID-19 pandemic? So that is the question there that is making the basis of our discussion today.
Yes. Thank you very much. Should Africa ease restrictions? I can see.
Yes, we're trying to, yes.
That person has joined in.
We're trying, the production is trying to connect us with our other panelists.
We shall come. Has Africa, should Africa, the truth is, should Africa, I think, let me see, let me read it properly, so that Miriam doesn't get me wrong here.
Yes, should Africa.
Should Africa ease restrictions or lockdown on COVID-19 pandemic? Viewers, that is the question of the day today. That is the situation we have. We have a problem here. A big one. Should we close down completely? Should we ease restrictions? Are we good people? Are we still washing our hands? Are we still social distancing? Are we still staying at home? Are we still wearing this practical masks? Whether inside your house, if you feel you have some members of your family who can be either coughing or sneezing, wear your mask. Are we on the right track? Have our manners changed? Very serious percentage today in infra-track. 71% of the people have the same bad manners. And I want to take the credit here. Punchline Africa Television, together with the legacy, we pulled the popularity of President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta to 62%, whooping. Hallelujah. We did it, man. We struggled. People wanted the popularity of the president to be down. Hakuna. We fought the battle. The legacy trend fought the battle for 1 year and some days. Every morning I've woken up at 4 a.m. and delivered an article to educate, to change the mechanisms, to say there is something in the legacy. Thank you very much, Infrotwork. There are those who wanted to disrupt us. We know them. But nothing. The time frame has run against them. The wind that they wanted to push on us has returned. We have no regrets. We have nobody to say we apologize to, because our writings are very clear. And guess what? Factual. Can you lock? Analog. Ease. How do you ease? Miriam, let's be honest. You easy to go where? There are people saying the president should have opened. To open and go where? And now I'm coming back to Kenyans. Tell me, you wanted the president of Republic of Kenya to open, and then you go where? Where? Yes, you want to manufacture? No, you people, I want to ask you. Let me finish the questions. You want to start manufacturing for who? Flowers, you want to cut them for who? If the products for manufacture are finished, where will you order them? Which world is functioning fully today? Show me one country that is functioning like a normal economy. America is on fire. China is producing 24 hours shift, not even 8 hours shift, 24 hours producing masks and ventilators. That's the only country which is functioning, which brought us the problem we have today. Britain is just recovering. 3, just recovering. Now you produce to take where? You want the factory to open. Yes. Follow the procedure. Standing procedure. You will have your factory reopen. Follow. You have seen Kempiski. You have seen the advert there. I don't know whether you have shown it. Kempiski open halfway. Book a table before you go there. Those are the standard procedure where you can open. You want to fly to America, 14 days under quarantine. You want to fly to Dubai, 14 days. You leave your country to fly to Dubai to be detained in a kiosk as hot as Sahara Desert. You want to open up to go where? Kenyans. Okay. If you had good manners, you would open up. But some people are not wearing the masks. The president was found in Arch 22, where the trouser was in the knees. He can't pull it up, he can't go down. He had to say right, right, right. That's it. I want to say this. Anybody who wants to do what we call comparative analysis, if we want to sort this mess out, always do what we call comparative analysis. Look at the countries across the globe where situation has been so bad. Look at the countries that reopened. Then they had a spike. North Korea, South Korea, Germany, Iran, a bit of Rwanda, and they had to close back. Look at the neighbors. The hotel like Kempinski is opening halfway, not for sleeping, but for eating restaurant. So don't go there with a luggage thinking you are going to sleep. Sleep at your home. But if you have a quick meeting, a lunch meeting, arrive there. So I am very pleased. Look at the situation in South Sudan. They eased. They eased. They were relaxed. When this thing was hitting Kenya, Uganda, and other countries, they were saying we are all right. They should have started preparing there. But then again, I agree, restriction without discipline is zero. Some people were even sending messages to the president that we are ready to go, freedom, to run to Nyeri, to run to Naivasha, to run to Naro, to spread the COVID-19. Miriam, back to you.
All right, Doctor, and I'm being told that Professor Onyari has joined us. Professor Onyari, if you can hear me, a very good afternoon to you. All right, so they're going to bring him back. So yesterday, Doctor, in line with what you're saying, we saw President Uhuru Kenyatta speaking to the country, and we Kenyans had been anticipating, and we didn't know really what to expect from President Uhuru Kenyatta, because we thought, a lot of Kenyans thought that perhaps, some of these restrictions shall be lifted, like access to Nairobi and other counties. And we saw, because of the high number of cases that are being reported in Nairobi today, when Nairobi was not one of the counties that received that reprieve, which I think is a good thing, because it was worrying. You cannot lift the restrictions in and out of Nairobi with the numbers that we're seeing being recorded right now, especially in those informal sectors and people who will be very quick even to travel to the villages. So just a highlight of what President Uhuru Kenyatta said yesterday in regards to education. He said the Ministry of Education, jointly with the Ministry of Health, to issue and publicize guidelines on gradual and progressive return to normalcy in the education sector by the third term from September 1st. Further, the ministry to announce the new school calendar by mid-August. And also in accordance to churches, the president said that following consultations with interfaith and religious organizations, the Ministry of Interior and Health to constitute an interfaith council within 7 days to work out modalities and protocols of reopening places of worship. And about traveling, the president said that due to the evolving nature of the disease globally, international travel restrictions are hereby extended. However, for the local travel, the Minister of Transport is directed within 7 days to engage all key stakeholders and develop protocols to guide resumption of local air travel. And also in regards to social gatherings and even political rallies, the president said all forms of gatherings, including political and social gatherings, as well as bars, extended for a further 30 days. And in regards to movement, the president said that the cessation of movement into and out of the Nairobi metropolitan area, Mombasa and Mandera be further extended by 30 days. However, movement into and out of Kilifi and Kwale counties has been lifted, applying to Eastleigh and Mombasa Old Town area. And in regards to the curfew, the national-wide dusk to dawn curfew extended for a further 30 days. However, it will run from 9 p.m. in the evening to 4 a.m. in the morning. And what President Uhuru Kenyatta is quoted there saying that I wanted to know the worst case scenario and the best options available for us to contain the spread of the disease without affecting the economy irreversibly. So, Doctor, a lot of things then the rest of the panel that President Uhuru Kenyatta mentioned there. And so yeah, we just have Professor Nyari, we can hear you. So he's just joined us there. But this about 5 or 6 things that President Uhuru Kenyatta mentioned, Doctor, did the cessation of movement in Nairobi, it was extended for another 30 days. Was this a good move? And Daniel, yes.
Thank you very much, Professor Gerard Onyali, for joining us. Can you test your microphone now? Yes, Professor Onyali, yeah. Can you test your microphone?
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Hello?
Yes.
Very well.
Can you test your microphone? Talk to us. The subject is should Africa ease their restrictions or lock down on pandemic COVID-19?
It depends what situation you are in. Like Kenya, the numbers are increasing. It is not prudent to open, and the decision which the president took yesterday, which is by being advised by the experts, was the best decision, and it should be replicated by other African countries. For example, Nairobi is the epicenter. If we happen to open, it means people will go to the countryside where we don't have COVID cases, and the situation will be unbearable. So the decision was proper. We should not open. There's no being hurried to open, because those countries which were in the same situation where Kenya is today, when they happened to open, the outcome was a disaster.
Professor Nyari, just before you proceed, we need you to adjust your headroom, because you seem to be having a lot of headroom there. So if you can readjust and compose your shot, we will appreciate that. So that we don't have too much headroom there as it is right now. Thank you.
There you are.
Much better now. Thank you so much.
And the talk as normal, because the camera has seen you already. That's no problem. Yes, there you are. Now you can talk normally. Don't come too close. Now, Prof, you said that Uhuru Kenyatta has done very well to make sure that the whole thing remains. One, the restrictions in Nairobi, the epicenter, and the Mombasa remain. He released Kwale, Kilifi. They went. Mandera still on. The curfew extended. Time begins at 9 p.m. up to 4. That is, yes, 9 p.m. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. To 4
yes, you're right.
Up to 4 a.m. in the morning. That's okay. Now, let's come at what are the factors that make people misbehave? What is our mindset? What are the mindsets? And when you are doing this mindset, look at the entire African mindset. It's not only in Kenya. Uganda mindset is slightly different, but because there is a general with a gun, do we rule by gun? We give you democracy.
That's true. That's true.
But we have put a gun. If you make mess with us, we deal with you. That's what Museveni said. You mess with its directions, he does it. Let's look at Ethiopia. The figures are very low though, because there is discipline. There is also a gun behind Ethiopia. Yes, you can't rule Ethiopia without a gun. You can't rule Ethiopia without the authority of the army. Ethiopia has a sitting army in Africa of over 6 million people. It is therefore very, very important for us to see and weigh why the mindset, for example, in Kenya, the mindset is changed. Why things have changed in Kenya. Why we cannot change? Because there is a lot of democracy, huge democracy, democratic gains, plenty of it. You touch anybody in Kenya, or Mutata will be in court tomorrow. But down in Africa, there is a situation where things change differently. People understand the pain of causing more trouble. People understand the pain of spreading the disease. We in Kenya, we are still at a loss. And the viewers, believe me or not, if we don't change our mindsets, we have a neighbor across the bridge silently manufacturing. It's actually like a factory now. We are coming to Tanzania. It's worrying me. They have opened the churches today, fully fledged. They have opened all the airlines, Qatar Airlines. Kenya should be careful. Ban Qatar Airlines from entering here. Because that's how Corona is going to be brought back. Because if people don't want to agree, the government of Kenya must look for other alternatives, punitive sanctions against countries that are not adhering to their own principles. You are fumigating the whole airport, but at the same time, you are allowing a plane that has been in Tanzania to drop some particles at Jomo Kenyatta Airport. The people washing the plane at Jomo Kenyatta Airport touch the particles, return with those particles to their houses. They walk on those shoes. Some of these diseases slip through the shoes and they take them home. Miriam, our next topic, next country is Tanzania. Your favorite professor is our neighbor. Let's look at what can Kenya government do.
But yes, but yeah, and
what can Kenya government do to make sure that there is complete adherence to the principles of COVID, again, guidelines of COVID-19.
Yes, maybe, Doctor, you have really brought a lot of issues on board. And maybe just to add on that, before we ease up the restrictions, before people now start calling for the government to open up our cities, they need to take the experience of Ghana on April 19th, where Kumasi and Accra opened up. And over the weekend, only a single person who was working in a fish processing plant, he was able to infect 533 of his colleagues with the COVID-19. So that is something that should really be at the back of our minds before we open up. You know, people are talking about the economy, people losing their livelihood. But look in Accra, a single person working in a fish processing plant going ahead to infect more than 500 people. That is very, very tragic. Nigeria also has tried to ease up the restrictions, but the Nigerian Medical Association chairman said that that was not the route to take because that could plunge in the country in a bit of a precarious situation in terms of a high number of infections. Look at Chad. Chad was a country that had previously ignored taking into place measures in regards to preventing the spread of the virus. But right now, it's rushing to lock down major cities and towns and are really trying to put everything right. So at this juncture, when Chad is running to put everything in order, we cannot have the luxury now from our end to open up because we can be able to see the repercussions that the countries like Chad that have been ignoring these measures are going through. So it's really not the time.
Okay, thank you very much, Miriam. We want you to bring us to speed the two newspaper headlines so that Professor Onyali and ourselves, we can, including you, we can analyze. Let's start with the Standard. Miriam.
All right, and the Standard newspaper there are the front pages. The Standard newspaper there on the front pages there says a grim truth that shook a president, and it continues to say horns of a dilemma, doomsday scenarios of deaths in tens of thousands and unmanageable COVID-19. Professor Nyari, we can hear you. So on the front pages there of the Sunday Standard.
You switch off that microphone. You put there's that microphone thing. Just put on, now you can talk what you want.
Yeah, behind the scenes. And then when you're ready, you switch it off. Yes. All right, we're learning their technology can be challenging them sometimes. But on the front pages of the Sunday Standard there, it says a grim truth that shook a president, horns of a dilemma, doomsday scenarios of deaths in tens of thousands and unmanageable COVID-19 infections stopped a president intent on reopening economy. Instead, he eases...
Professor Nyani, switch on your microphone.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Miriam is continuing. Hold the fire. Let Miriam finish.
All right. So what the Sunday Standard here is telling us that looking at doomsday scenarios of deaths in tens of thousands and unmanageable COVID-19 infections stopped president intent on reopening economy. Instead, he eases curfew hours, lifts some restrictions. So President Uhuru Kenyatta, and I think he said about it yesterday, that looking at what else was happening across the globe, because initially he had alluded that he might reopen the economy, and so he was looking and devising ways in which he can do that slowly. But as it appears, looking at what else is happening across the globe, that might have, advised the announcement made yesterday by President Uhuru Kenyatta, and also not reopening the economy that Kenyans had hoped that he would do yesterday. So, Professor Nyari, what do you make of that, in line with what President Uhuru Kenyatta said yesterday?
Yes, President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday was between the hard rock and the rock and the hard stone. He wanted to open and not to open. There were two rights, and there was not each side which was right than the other. But you consider that him as a president, when you are sworn in to be the president, you swear to protect the constitution, to protect life and property. So if he could have opened the economy, what that one means that the COVID cases will increase and people will lose their lives. He gave the two cases of the hospital in Busia County and the Sierra County. We don't have enough beds in case if this COVID cases increases. So he hoped to choose to save life. And even if we are going to close the economy for 1 year, and God forbid, for him to save lives, so be it. So on this, I find that he took the correct decision, and history will judge him correctly,
right.
because he has chosen to protect the life of Kenyans. And he said even those who are badly hit by the economy, the government is finding a way to see that whether they can be cautioned. And he went ahead to say that even the employers and even the landlords should put people first before the profits. That was a huge statement, and I support him on that.
All right, Daniel, what do you make of that headline on the Sunday Standard there, saying President Uhuru Kenyatta was faced with doomsday scenarios, basically? That's what they're telling us.
Yes, of course, Miriam, we are a third world country, and a majority of people live below the poverty line. And these are majority of people who are working in the informal sector, above 60% of them. And of course, this is a sector that has been hard hit by the pandemic. So you find that most people are not earning their livelihoods as it is right now. But of course, as Professor Gerald Onyani has said, the president was sworn into office to ensure that the people of Kenya are safe, their property and everything. So it was the best decision that caters for the interests of all Kenyans to keep the country still locked up, because if people are allowed to move, then perhaps we could have small cases of people moving to the countryside, where we have the elderly and vulnerable majority of people living with underlying health issues. And it could have been a very, very delicate situation there. And perhaps that was quite in order, despite that he was faced by a very, very tough decision to make. But I think
he made the right decision.
Yeah.
All right, and as Professor Nyarida said earlier, his first responsibility as the president of Kenya is to protect our lives. So I think the Kenyans would agree, as much as it is quite uncomfortable, but the president did what was right in the best interest of the people and the lives of Kenyans. So up there, still on the Sunday Standard, Advantage Raila, and it says, why his stars are shining bright again. Once written off as a spent force who had utilized his last bullet, ODM leader not only confounds supporters and naysayers with a steady resurgence that has hit its peak with the Jubilee Civil War, making him a formidable player in 2022 political matrix. So it appears, Raila Odinga did not spend his last bullet last time. Doctor, I don't know if you're back.
Yes, I'm back.
All right.
I want to check this one.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Miriam, for bringing me on this.
Yes.
We speak the truth. We say it as it is. Yes. Political science, any lecturer, like a doctor, Professor Onyani will tell you, timing is very crucial in political science. Timing is important. If you time wrongly, you go down badly. The deputy president timed wrongly. He started too early.
You are making noise.
He started too early. Onyali, pay attention, sir. Prof.
Very well.
Yes.
There is any movement on this Zoom, the world is watching. So you better switch on the thing and off when you are talking, please. So Professor Dr. William Ruto started too early. He did not listen to advice. It is going to be costly. And for me, there is one word that I don't hide. I have been a Christian for 50 years. I don't go to Muganga. Neither do I cleanse. The only ceremony that I did was to circumcise in 1972. I was cut. And that's it. I danced for 3 days. They did put mud on me. My grandmother did not like it. I danced around the whole county. Where these guys who have hidden in Kenya here come from. We don't want to say who they are. But next time when they antagonize me, I will say who they are. Because it's one integration. There are people who point the fingers on me that I'm a Ugandan, but I have not bought an ID here. So muende pole pole on Matanga. Because me, I am a Ugandan. I've never bought any ID in Kenya. Neither will I, unless the president gives me the honorable citizenship, which I like. If he gives me tomorrow, I have struggled for you. That will be my prize to take home. But I do my work voluntarily. I have never been to President Uhuru Kenyatta's office or Kibicho's office seeking any payment. So anybody bringing that problem will be very big lumpen with upstairs derailed. And let me say it today. So the whole situation, we are now going back. Why am I sounding this? We are going back. We told the ICC we don't cleanse. Now we are doing the ceremony. You know, you people, you don't see the implications. We're having Harware going around all those areas to speak, to create chaos, to incite people, to dish money. For us, some of us, we want to be on record. Maybe this clip will be used in the future. So Miriam, be prepared that the clip could be taken in the future. People are recording this violence instigators. And nobody, and let me tell the deputy president to hear me, nobody, he's not disowning the statements of Harware. Your Excellency, Deputy President, please, I am one of your people who suffered to bring you from where you were. The people who wanted you to be jailed like Harware. Harware told the whole nation that they should be jailed. Now you are not disowning the statement. You are keeping quiet. This is building up slowly, 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 slowly. As soon as this monster called Trump finishes his job of finishing the black ones in America and slaughtering as many as possible, the next phase is escape route. Onyali knows what international escapism is. They would run away from there and come and get one country in Africa to use. One country in Africa to use as an example. Please, Kenya. Please, Kenya. Please, Kenya. And please, Kenya 4 times. Don't be an example. I'm saying it openly. So that people, the deputy should not say he was told. Let him hear from me. I'm his friend. I'm older than him. Therefore, as an elder, I've seen a lot of granaries. I've eaten several granaries, more. Even than Onyali. Onyali could be big in size, but not my age. It's huge in size, but not my age. If you wrote off Raila, compete with Raila now nicely. This guy is not written off. Raila can never be written off. The only people who can write off Raila are the Matangas. We are bad boys because all of us are rebels. Raila is a rebel, I'm a rebel. Have you ever seen Raila insult me? No. Because we have met in the battlefield. But you civilian, you can't manage this guy. This time is in for the writ. He will get it. Atapata. Wacha niambie watu ya wasi. Say mimi I am not like a Mr. What is his name? Atwoli. Atwoli is my friend. He's an elder. He's older than me. But what Atwoli talks every time, watch it. It is very useful. If you are in politics and you don't listen to what Atwoli says, then you will collapse. You can't use Harwale as your agent. You know there are people with bad luck. There are people who are born with very bad luck. And it's not me who produced you. So don't come to Matanga and blame me. If you have been born in a bad luck, go with it. Don't touch me. People were born with bad luck like Kofi Annan the late. He had bad blood. Everything he touches, there is blood. Taylor is in jail. He hasn't died. Kofi Annan is dead. Saddam Hussein, they have met down there. 1 million Rwandese, they are meeting down there. Or up. I don't know whether he has gone up or down.
And Dr. Matsanga has actually lifted the curse that he put up upon Harwale.
I'll give you time. Because those are the things we are condemning. So Otwoli equally cannot tell us he cursed to you.
Yeah.
Either you stick to the Bible or you go home. You can't serve two people. You are telling your people that you are a very good Christian every Sunday, and then here you are going. No. Let's be honest. That's why I told you I've read the Bible for 50 years. If anybody here has read it, challenge me, Dr. Ruto. I can quote you verses without looking at it. But you're a newcomer reader, and then you go back to this night running exercises as a road runner. Do them quietly. Nobody doesn't do these things. They do them. But don't operate like a Maji rebellion. Any of you who knows 1880 to 1895, the killing of people in Buganda by Kabaka Mwanga too was as a result of what is happening now in Kenya. Mwanga noticed a challenge of two things. A new religion has arrived, confusing the old religion, where they used to know there is a Kabaka called Naruba. They didn't say there was no God. Baganda used to pray looking at that lake. Because when the Bagisu chased Baganda from Mount Elgon, the Baganda looked for the lowest area where to settle. That is the analysis of Uganda history. They settled near the lake. So their prayers were on the lake. But someone deceived them. Let's mix both. Kabaka Mwanga burned 33 alive in Namugongo. I believe Professor Nyari has been to Namugongo. And all of you who have never gone there, go and see how those 33 Baganda people, Ugandans, suffered because they mixed religion. So, in essence, to leave you the topic to discuss, Raila is on. Mm-hmm. And at this time, I think majority of Kenyans think that he will have a trial at this situation.
All right, Professor Onyari, judging from last time, a lot of people had written off Raila Odinga and said perhaps he utilized his last bullet. Did he have another one, underneath, or what is really happening? Yes.
Yeah. Before I comment on that, what you need to understand, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, the Prime Minister, they want to leave a legacy in this country. They want to correct the mistakes which were done before. And before we even write him off, the Jomo Kenyatta was the founding father of this nation, and the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. As they were proceeding and getting independence, there were some things which were done right. And President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga wants to correct that. Because as President Uhuru Kenyatta said, from 1992, we have been having problems when we have our elections. And we want to address our constitution through PPI, whereby that every Kenyans will be involved, will be consulted, and will participate, and will feel that they are part of the government. And as a politician, there is no retirement age of a politician. The Prime Minister for Malaysia is 93 years old. And Raila is basically 75, is still a young man. So don't write him off. We want to prepare the field to be revolved so that we can all participate in election, have independent electoral commission, which is trusted by all the actors. So to me, write Raila Odinga off at your own peril, because as a shrewd politician, he has been able to read the mood of the country. He has been able to read the mood of the president who wants to leave a legacy of a united country, and he has looked at that route and is working closely with the president. And this is where the deputy president is losing. So Raila is a candidate to watch come 2022.
All right, thank you so much. And Daniel, there, from what Professor Onyari is saying and from what Dr. Matsanga is saying there, and what the Sunday Standard this afternoon or this morning, today, is saying that Raila Odinga's resurgence has hit its peak with the Jubilee Civil War. Has the Jubilee Civil War, as the Sunday Standard puts it, catapulted Raila towards he is today, the power that, the rejuvenation that we see in him today?
Yes, Miriam, thank you. And I tend to agree more with Dr. Matsanga and Professor Gerard Onyani there. When you're looking at Raila Odinga, he's a very seasoned politician, and he has been described by many as the proverbial cat that has 9 lives. So Raila will always have a way of coming back. But most importantly, the unity that today he has with the president, of bringing together all Kenyans across the divide, regardless of the ethnic lines, and just trying to ensure that the country is peaceful, and also planning to give the country the best through the BBI and the Big Four agenda. So that is the bigger picture that Kenya should look at. And of course, now going by that headline, of course, the deputy president and his allies have been very critical of the president. And despite the president being clear that they had to cease from indulging in premature 2022 politics, they were very defiant and did not support the president's agenda. So, of course, that makes Raila a close ally of the president, and whatever President Uhuru Kenyatta could not find in his deputy president and his allies, now he has found a new ally who is in Raila Odinga. And we believe that together with the president now, they will be able to give Kenyans a very, very bright future in terms of development, prosperity, and fixing a lot of our structures, especially the IBC, to ensure that we do away with this perennial issue of post-election skirmishes whenever we're having an election.
All right, thank you there. And we look at the Sunday Nation before we quickly turn to our topic of the day. And as it's just capturing what we had initially talked about, 30 days on the edge. And it says, with an economy running on empty, millions of jobs on the line, schools shattered, and a virus on the prowl, President Kenyatta had two options yesterday: ease restrictions and soak in the health consequences, or extend the blockade and save lives. He chose the latter, setting the stage for a month of reflections, regrets, and internal hope. And you see the headline on the Daily Nation, on the Sunday Nation, and also on the Sunday Standard. They seems to be applauding the president for the extension, especially in Nairobi, the restriction, the travel restriction in and out of Nairobi. So there seems to be an agreement for the first time with the measures there that President Uhuru Kenyatta put in place. So that is a good thing. I am Dr. Matanga.
Oh.
Yeah, first of all, look, Miriam, looking at what I had written in the morning, anybody who has done what we call comparative analysis, which I believe both of you have done. Miriam, you have done comparative analysis. Before you come to a decision. The other day, I was very honest, and I told Mutahi Kagwe, if you don't know how to do project management, I'm ready to help for free. Because the COVID-19 of Kenya needs project management experts in all terms of medicine. You must have done a project management. That's why before you get a doctorate, you must be given a project to manage. How do you get out of a situation of a very terrible scenario? How do we jump out? Where are the beds? Why is it that Machakos Hospital is not used? Now we find a problem in Siaya. It is not only Siaya. What about in Naivasha Hospital in Nakuru? How many beds do we have? What about the beds in Turkana? Which place can we take immediately? Where can we drop the patients who are in critical condition? These are some of the project management that Africa must look at. That's why that man, Mr. Dr.
Tedros,
was telling us that Africa, if you play about, it will be the epicenter. You note that most of the countries in Europe are coming out. But as they come out and open their industry, the airline, the zooming Airbus, the zooming Dreamliners, the zooming Boeings, coming towards Africa. What shall we do when they come for us? Most of you have listened to that song of the New York Police Department. When they come for us, what shall we do? I am speaking from a project management, a graduate. I've graduated. In that pocket, I can manage this project, and I can tell the president in the morning that right now, let's even look more. And I was right. Let me tell you, if you open this, it's a floodgate to hell.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Kenyans are not putting on masks. Kenyans are not washing hands. Kenyans are not social distancing. Kenyans have filled Matatu again. They see the roadblock, they dodge it. They are telling us, open, open. Hii chakula utakula chakula hii kweli. Wacha hii kitu ingie hapo. There is no medicine. I'm speaking from a serious experience. I've healed one of my daughters without single tablet. And she's not in Africa. She's in a developed world where you get a visa to go there. But the workers came to her house. And I want to tell this, it is a real story. The workers came to her house and told her that from now onwards, don't go out. Drink lemon. Oh my, drink this. Oh my, drink that. Get more fluid. Oh my God. My daughter said, what? Signs were beginning, no? They said these are symptoms. And I want to tell people who are saying there's no COVID-19. I healed my daughter on this phone, using this phone here, this one. Nora Matanga is here today. She's traveling, but she got healed. So I'm speaking from an experience, not because I want to talk. So don't say you are the only one who has suffered. But this is a country where medicine is available. This is a state which has organized its structure. Miriam, the social structure in Britain, the structure itself, both economically, politically, socially, is far better 1,900 years or 600 years. We are in Kenya, and we think of opening, then you open to go where? When we don't have even a vaccine, not even a vaccine. There is no day somebody came with an injection to inject my daughter. They told her eat and the immune system will come back and fight the disease. Can you believe that? And she did that. And I had every 2 hours, I was on the phone. Say, now wake up, go and shower, go and do this, go and do that, cut the orange, get the... And I had to pay people to deliver grocery at the door from where I am here. So it is not something that people should tell President Uhuru Kenyatta, open, fungua tuko. They want to pour in the village. When they reach the village, they go and do nyama choma. They do kila kitu, tukule. Now you are giving it to the villagers. Unabeba ngine kutoka huko unarudi nayo. That's where the trouble is.
Indeed, that is where
so
the trouble is.
So it's up to you people to be careful. The 30 days are here. Kenya has only managed to test 100,000 people, isn't it?
Thereabout.
Out of 45 million. Now, Onyali and the rest of you, Onyali seems to have switched off his phone, his system, and yet he's in a very good position.
I'm around.
Yes. When you look at that situation, that's where Kenya is.
All right.
We have only tested less than 100,000 people. And we have 45 million people. Remove the children who are about 10 million. Leave the adults who are about 35 million. The samples showing now randomly are the tests. So what can bring down the curve is the discipline, the hygiene, the social distancing. That will bring down the curve. And if we do that, we shall have helped President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta to seriously think of opening. Don't cry of Rome when Sicily is burning.
Right.
You are crying of the economy in future, but you might not be there to witness the economy. We don't have enough beds. We don't have enough ventilators. We don't have enough healthcare workers. We don't have enough discipline. Ifrotrak has told you 71% of Kenyans are jokers on COVID, not the other things. COVID-19, they are joking. 71%. Surely, this is a disease. It is flying anywhere here. Some have even put these masks as a fashion. They have changed it and they wear it like this. Yeah, I saw one gentleman, a very organized man with very good shoes from Turkey. And unfortunately, the shoes let him down. Turkish shoes. Those ones of Wesong and others. You know, some of us don't wear Turkish shoes because shoes from Turkey are useless. So I saw he had worn the mask. This is a dedicated guy, like this. This is the way they wear the mask now. The mask is supposed to be worn like this. And this guy was wearing like this.
Of course, that is very unfortunate. And
proudly talking in Makonde English. I'm sorry. Let me be like that. You hate me, but at least my talk serves some people. Yes. There are some people listening who take my advice. That even this man at his age is still pleading. If they are looking for people who have tried to talk about COVID-19 for 1 hour and 2 hours, it's this television station of mine. I've tried. I'm not seeking a reward because in Kenya they will never reward you. They will never. And that one, I did ICC, nobody rewarded me. So I don't think they will reward me. But I'm speaking to save humanity.
And
that's why I am doing this. Yes, we're so.
Yes, talking of that, you know, Kenyans are calling for the opening up of the country. And just 2 days ago, I called one of my colleagues who is based, one of my friends rather, who is based in Busia County. And he was telling me we do have a number of joints which are not even observing the dusk to dawn curfew. And yesterday, Miriam, if you are quite keen, the majority of Kenyans who are eagerly waiting for the president to open up the country, or those ones who wanted to go out and club and party and do all the merry that they have been missing for a while. So really, when you talk about the economy, and majority of those who are advocating for the economy to be opened are just perhaps harboring a thirst to go and quench their thirst in drinking and doing all that kind of thing, then I think we have all the wrong priorities as a people. So I strongly agree with you, Dr. Masanga, on that. Kenyans have to change their morals and the way they treat this disease. So that is one key point they should do before they give the president a reason to open up.
Miriam, our viewers are saying, what is the topic? Our topic was COVID-19. Should Kenya remove restrictions or not? Plus newspapers, headlines in Kenya. So, Mr. Clark, if you support Ruto, I have not stopped you from supporting you. You are my old fan on this television station. Respect me also. I conduct the programs on this show. Miriam read a headline and we are answering to the headline so that Kenyans also equally know there's something. This show, we mix everything. So don't mislead my viewers and the people who are on the chat. I'm not here for an argument. If you want an argument, I'm academically very acute, very, very serious, on a high level. for any argument at any time outside the television station. Therefore, don't prostitute my television station. Okay? Don't. I am just ready for an argument. You listen. Miriam asked the question. I am answering the question about Raila Amolo Odinga. If you love Ruto, create your television station, sing him. I'm not interested. He can even create more. Do not create them over my children. So please leave me alone. I speak by facts. I'm not interested. I'm not standing as a president of the Republic of Kenya. But I discuss African affairs. Let's move on discussing other affairs, Tanzania and so on. If you bring here your type of patronage, please watch the television or switch off. I'm not calling you to watch. It's your right. I'm sorry. The Zoom has come, everybody can watch his. So we see who can speak sense or not. But you can't direct me not speak about certain people. That one, no, not on my television station. Sorry. Thank you, Miriam.
All right, there are our viewers. Yes, for those who came in and maybe we're looking at the headlines on the Kenyan newspapers, and they're all having the Standard newspaper carried out that story that we were discussing there earlier. But now we are back to our topic of the day, which is should Africa ease restrictions or lockdown on the COVID-19 pandemic? And we dealt with Kenya already. So now let's just move to Tanzania, where the Tanzanian government closed schools, stopped international flights, and banned large gatherings. But much of the regular economic activities has continued, and religious services have been allowed to continue, unlike neighbors like Rwanda and Uganda, which imposed total lockdowns. President Magufuli announced a reopening of universities from June, thus moving towards normalization and easing restrictions imposed to stem the spread of coronavirus. Unlike other countries in the region, Tanzania, of course, did not impose, but urged citizens to maintain social distance, wear face masks, and wash their hands. Later in May, it lifted travel restrictions imposed on inbound and outbound passenger flights to allow for a return to normal airline and tourism business. So basically, Doctor, even as President Uhuru Kenyatta spent, I'm sure, sleepless nights wondering about the Kenyan economy, but also the lives of the people of Kenya. And yesterday, of course, when he made that announcement, he made the right decision in terms of, not opening up the in and out of movement in Nairobi and other countries that are still the hotspots for the pandemic. But for President Magufuli, he's saying it's business as usual, and now we allow any flights to come into Tanzania and even tourism for anybody who wants to go visit Tanzania. President Magufuli is telling you this is the right time.
Anybody who wants to visit Tanzania, this is the right time.
Yes.
Okay. I am standing by African unity. I believe in African unity. But unity without sense is useless. We either pump in you, seriously. I don't know why African leaders have not confronted a situation like brothers. The President Magufuli is not an island. President Magufuli depends on several factors. His Excellency President Magufuli, and let me take this opportunity this afternoon to ask His Excellency President Yoweri Gakuta Museveni that all of us were in Tanzania. We all love Tanzania. 78, 79, we formed the Uganda National Liberation Front in Tanzania. President Nyerere gave us support. We overthrew dictator Idi Amin. We are today as we are because of Tanzania. Your Excellency, with due respect, sir, if you get this clip played to you back by any of your officials, although I've tagged you straight on your Twitter handle, you might be in your gym practicing your movement of the body and so on. That's very good. But Your Excellency, talk to President Magufuli. It looks like you are the only person who now can take the challenge as one of the people who stayed in Tanzania, who benefited from Tanzania, who can represent most of us, who are students of Nyerere. The situation is going out of hand. Airports are opening. But these airports, some of the planes have to pass somewhere before they arrive in Tanzania. So, I don't know whether we are really thinking of Majimaji rebellion or the Hehe rebellion, or we are going back to which place, I don't know. Tanzanians are very good people. Tanzanians listen to the law. Tanzanians have a social contract, have a social system of Ujamaa that molded them into unity of purpose. They change elections, they change systems without violence. What is happening is very regrettable. That today, we don't know, the figures have been wiped out of World Health Organization chart. No ministry official is giving how many people are in Tanzania affected with COVID-19. Neither do we know how many people are dying if they are dying. Neither do we know how many people are recovering if they are recovering. So we have a problem here. And that problem is growing. Okay, if Tanzania opens today and there is a plane flying into Tanzania that wants to be diverted from Kilimanjaro to Mombasa, how will President Magufuli react when Kenya refuses the plane from landing? I leave it to that, Miriam. Let's go to another country.
I don't know if
Daniel,
yes.
Is there anything that you want to add?
I don't know if Daniel has anything else to say to
There's
that.
nothing to add. Miriam, it annoys.
Yes, maybe, Doc, I just wanted to reinforce what...
I am annoyed. Let me listen to you now.
Yes, you know, on Thursday, I was talking to someone in Tanzania who is, I talked to someone who is in Zanzibar and another one who is in Tanzania mainland. And this person who is in Dar es Salaam was telling me, in Tanzania, there's no, according to the government, there's no coronavirus cases. And perhaps now he believes that wherever he is, there are only 2 cases of COVID-19, I think, which is a very, very big injustice and misinformation to the country. Mm-hmm. It is high time Tanzania and President Magufuli just followed whatever countries world over are doing to give out information regarding to the number they are recording, and also put in place the measures that will help combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Because the contractor I talked to in Zanzibar told me that there the situation was very, very delicate and the hospitals were quite overwhelmed. So I think we need to bring everything in order in Tanzania because they are our neighbors and perhaps if the situation out there comes out of control, then we're gonna also face the consequences.
All right, and I don't know if you still have Professor Nyari online or we lost him there. I can't.
Professor Nyari,
I'm here. You can hear me?
So, Professor Nyari,
Yes.
what do you make of Magufuli's?
Let me just have to say about President Magufuli.
Mm-hmm.
It is very unfortunate that he has decided to be on a highland of his own and watch this space. President Magufuli is behaving like a witch doctor. He is not listening to his colleagues in the region, in East Africa region. President Kagame, Museveni, Kenyatta, and the Salva Kiir, and the Burundi, the Nkurunziza.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, is violating the human rights of the people of Tanzania. And watch this space, that with the time, he will be tried an international court because he has failed to protect the lives of the people. COVID-19 is killing people, and you cannot fight it alone. We have to fight it with a community approach. And the fact is that he is our neighbor. And what happens in your neighbor's place, what you are home?
We seem to be having a problem, Professor Onyari. We seem to be having a problem with your signal there. Your audio is not very clear. I don't know. We will get back to you in a bit if you're able to fix that. Yeah. All right, there, Professor Onyari, trying to yes.
Medium, let's move with speed because we are running short of time.
All right.
The situation generally in Tanzania should be handled by the heads of state.
Yes.
We have requested President Museveni. Our appeal is to talk to President Magufuli because the atmosphere, when I heard President Magufuli on the platform saying, uzia hawa hata na bei ile juu zaidi. I don't think there is anything that Kenya can get out of this. It will only escalate.
Yes.
So let's have a neutral person. And you can see some cheerleaders on the chat already who will support President Magufuli. Eunice.
Sean Felder, I think she's from Germany. Good afternoon to you.
She's saying, but if she's from Germany, then she must have seen the dead bodies. How many were packed in the mortuary? So don't pembeleze hawa. If you are from Germany, you saw the dead bodies. Ali Singanga is from Egypt. She's watching us from Egypt. She has seen COVID-19 kill people in Egypt. It's not a joke. So, hata kama ako Germany, what Germany? The people are dying there. In London, the mortuaries were full, man. This thing kills. Unless you are telling me we as Africans.
In Brazil, it is a disaster right now in Brazil. Have you seen the number of even the cemeteries are running out of space?
Yes.
The Brazilian people are as black as us. The only problem is they are very good dancers. Better than us.
Yes, and of course, Miriam.
Yeah.
The Brazilian president.
Let's put in the sense of humor. What else can you tell Brazilian president who told the people?
Who does not even believe there's COVID, yes.
He's a good dancer. Better than where he came from.
Zumba daktari.
Me, I don't have good words for such people. I don't have good words for Trump. I don't have good words for that man of Brazil. I don't have stupid words for anybody who comes here with his mouth. I have nothing. I will only control you if you reason. I don't have good words for people who say there is no COVID-19. I don't have words for people who say Where have you seen a corona patient? I have told you, Matanga, I've seen a corona patient, my daughter. Did you produce my daughter? No. I did it myself. We've had work. And I saw her going to die. I caught my Bible. I started praying here where I am. Nora, you are walking today. Hallelujah. There was no medicine, and she's in Britain. One of the highest countries in the best countries where you can eat food when it has dropped on the road because of the tarmac. I saw she was going to die. And I had to stick seriously. She's now okay. So when we tell you people, there is a problem, don't think it's a lie. There is corona. Very bad thing called corona. Wash your hands. Distance yourself. Wear a mask. Wear it properly. Listen to Mutahi Kagwe. Listen to President Uhuru Kenyatta. Listen to President Museveni. When they tell you forget politics, 2021 will come. Is the election going anywhere? No. Is exam. People are telling us our students are not going to do exam. Can you do exam next year? And still be taken to the same school? Why are you running the students to go back and open and then do what? Do what with them? They run back to you. Children can be manufactured in a very difficult condition, but you cannot repair them when you have given them a disease. You are not God to try to take your children to school that open the schools quickly. Then now, if you say you have, Miriam told me a story 4 weeks ago of a family which are fed up with their own children.
Yeah, the children.
Then why did you produce them?
The children are eating too much right now.
How can you say children are eating too much?
That is a friend of mine.
No, what type of life do we have here? What type of life do we have here? Mm-hmm. How can you say your children, your own children with blood, that they are eating too much? Mm-hmm. Hey, are we all right in this country? What is going on? Your own children. Unless you borrowed them or you bought them from a kiosk. But the one you produced, you nurtured, the one who disturbed you at night, you tell them they are eating too much. So where are we going?
All right. Do we move to Uganda, which is our next case study, and a nationwide 7 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. curfew remains in place. The order does not apply for members of the military, police, health workers, and utility workers. All borders remain closed, and the cargo and humanitarian-related services remain open. Schools and facilities that attract large groups remain closed. And also remember, Dr. earlier, sometimes back in May, President Yoweri Museveni had said there could be a possibility of the people who are sitting for their end of exam to go back to school on the 1st of June. But I think a few days before that, because of the cases that now continue to increase there in Uganda, President Yoweri Museveni changed his mind. And so right now the schools there in Uganda are not open the same way here in Kenya. The schools are not open. But in Tanzania, the schools there resumed on the 1st of June.
Yes, President Museveni is. On this one, I give him credit. Your Excellency, you've done very well. We disagree on a number of things, but on this one, we agree. I want to thank you very much for having worked so hard to save lives up to today, no Ugandan has perished as a result of COVID-19. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you for doing what you have done and give us the right, give us advice of what we can do and what we cannot do. Thank you very much.
All right.
Stephen,
Yes.
I think our guest is today, Professor Onyali. We got him in so many. If you can excuse him to leave the screen, because I don't know. Steve, production team, please. Professor, switch on, then you can do like last show. We are on Uganda now.
Okay.
Make your comments so that we can leave you to continue with your daily work, sir. We can catch up tomorrow.
Yeah, let me just have this say that Uganda, they are doing extremely very well. I support President Museveni, what he's doing, and he started very well. President Kenyatta copied from him, and I hope they're working together. There's a much of cooperation between Kenya and Uganda, and this is the kind of cooperation which we need to see in the region so that we can fight this pandemic. And I concur and agree with you, Dr. Masanga, that COVID-19 is really, we should not wait until it kills us or it kills people whom we know, so we take it serious. Thank you so much for inviting me to the show, and we continue telling the people of Africa, this is not the time to open. Let us take advice from the experts, and if you take advice from the experts, you won't make mistakes or we won't go wrong. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We wish you a nice journey and travel well, travel safely. You are one of our most treasured commodity. Enjoy your weekend, Prof. God bless you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Onyari. We'll catch up some other time. Thank you so much. So we move to Zimbabwe. I don't know, Daniel, what do you have to say about the measures and how President Museveni has been handling COVID-19 there in Uganda before we move swiftly to Zimbabwe?
I think this is the time where countries where we have been having leaders who have been ruling with a strong arm coming out as perhaps countries that have been able to combat this pandemic. And that goes back to the way people in those countries are always accustomed to behave. You know, in Uganda, the military is so much into the civilian population. And of course, if you defy the orders that have come from the president, then you're going to face the consequences. But the problem with Kenya and a majority of African countries that have been overwhelmed by this pandemic is that there's too much democracy, and people don't take government instructions quite seriously. And whenever the government puts up clear measures, people want to defy them, and when they're taken to court, whenever they are arrested, the civil society will be out there making all kind of accusations against the government. So I think during this pandemic is the time when we need leaders who are the strong arm, leaders who really mean business, and just to make sure that everyone toes the line. I think that is what has helped Uganda a lot, and Museveni.
All right, thank you so much there, Daniel. So now we go to Zimbabwe, and the country and the government of Zimbabwe imposed a lockdown on March 30th, but was gradually been easing the restrictions as it aims to revive its troubled economy. Businesses such as manufacturers, supermarkets and banks, which have been allowed to continue operating, will now be able to work between 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. compared with the 6-hour day imposed previously. Shared taxis will remain banned, forcing commuters commuters to use buses operated by the state. President Mnangagwa said the hundreds of Zimbabwean migrants returning home every week, mainly from South Africa and Botswana, will have to undergo a 21-day quarantine in school and college buildings set aside for that purpose. And the president also said that only students writing final examinations this year would be allowed to resume classes, but did not say when. The government is still working on plans of phased reopening of schools. So we see there how President Mnangagwa is dealing with the condition there in Zimbabwe. And perhaps we look at the numbers there in Zimbabwe right now. The confirmed cases in Zimbabwe is at 279 cases. 4 deaths have been reported and 33 recoveries so far has been made. And just a couple of weeks ago, Zimbabwe has been able to maintain the low numbers of infections there of COVID-19, but we saw a surge for the last 2 weeks when immigrants, or Zimbabweans, came from South Africa, Botswana, and other countries were returning home, but of course they were taken to quarantine. So there's no cause of alarm in terms of the COVID-19 spreading in other parts of Zimbabwe. But how do you make of President Emmerson Mnangagwa's dealing with COVID-19 there in Zimbabwe, owing to other problems also that Zimbabwe is facing? And we cannot even begin talking about how much the health system there has collapsed and how the government has dealt with this manner.
Sorry, about that.
Yes, maybe if I could just come on board, Miriam. I
am back because
okay.
It is radio punchline that came in with a signal. Right. Whatever we are talking here, viewers, don't forget that it is being also broadcast live on Radio Punchline Africa. So that is why a signal came and said, listen. So thank you very much. Zimbabwe, it has suffered, but it has done so well. Why? The people there listen to their government. They might disobey the politics, but they listen to issues like this of health, traffic lights, road usage. They are not as stubborn as here. In Kenya, people pass even when the red light is stuck. Even when it has given green, someone says, don't pass. So we have a very big problem, a huge problem. But the Zimbabweans have done very well. The economy is not very good. They want to lift some, or they have lifted it gradually. For example, radio. The markets are spaced. In fact, tomorrow, I'll be able to show you how the markets, like a Gikomba in Zimbabwe, how people are placed their stores, that from one store to the other, it is very difficult to find a disease unless you have come with it. And that is the market similar to Gikomba, Muvura, is it? Mudura, or whatever the name is. There is quite a lot of discipline among Zimbabweans. They wash their hands. You know, it's one of the countries in Africa where there is no malaria. You can sleep outside. No mosquito will ever bite you. Any plane going into Zimbabwe, we need spray, malaria, anti-malaria spray. So the health system was fantastic, crippled by sanctions.
And even the literacy levels, Doc.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's all we can say about Zimbabwe. We wish them good luck. They listened to my letter of 18th of February. They took precautions. The president started even putting ventilators around 21st February. Thank you very much, President Emmerson Mnangagwa. Thank you.
All right, very well there. We move to South Africa, who are the leading country in Africa in terms of infections. And now President Ramaphosa has imposed one of the world's toughest lockdowns in late March, with restrictions only easing slightly from May 1st, when the country moved to a 5-level alert system, where 5 represents the most restrictions and most people were confined to their homes aside from essential trips. By the end of May, most of the country was placed on alert level 3, and at level 3 more businesses have been allowed to operate and more goods to be sold. And right now, as you speak, South Africa has 45,000 cases, 973, and the death toll in South Africa is at 952, and recoveries there stands at 24,258. So, Doctor, South Africa is seeking to, ease some of these restrictions, but the country seems to be, the trajectory seems to be climbing there. And right now, there are over 45,000, cases there that have been reported in South Africa. Reducing this number of restrictions, are they putting more people's lives at danger of getting infected?
South Africa is a very interesting case of Africa, of Africans who don't listen to other Africans. When HIV/AIDS struck Africa, South Africa took HIV as normal flu, and they continue to behave the way they have behaved. Today, believe me or not, Miriam, the people who have died are the ones who refused ARVs. This thing just arrived, and it has arrived where it is. It's a pathetic situation for South Africa. Mm-hmm. And maybe the Minister of Health of Kenya is speaking right now. I don't know whether the production team can work on that, send us a signal, and we hear what other bad news is going to give us tonight. As we go, I think we are left with Nigeria and...
we have Nigeria and Egypt and Cameroon. And also
Cameroon.
Mm-hmm.
We shall end up with the people of Cameroon. Mm-hmm. But if the production team, let's talk about Nigeria first.
Yes.
As the production team connects us across, I don't know when they will be able.
They're working on it, and when they'll be able to do that, I'm sure they will alert us. So in Nigeria, a ban on large gatherings is still in place, and there is a curfew between, that is 8 and 6 a.m. People are also required to wear a face mask in public, and in Lagos, office have been told to shut by 3 p.m., while commercial buses must reduce passengers' number to maintain social distance. The lockdown imposed on 30th March in Lagos, neighboring Ogun State, and the capital Abuja meant that many businesses were closed as people were required to stay indoors except for essential journeys. Markets were allowed to stay open for limited hours. In Nigeria, some businesses have reopened on the first working day after the easing of a lockdown imposed on key urban areas in a bid to restart Africa's largest economies. So we see there Nigeria is also grappling with whether to lift some of these sanctions, but it's trying to ease in slowly and lift some of these restrictions because the economy of Nigeria has been hurt. And Nigeria's right now, the number stands at 12,233. 342 people have died in Nigeria, and 3,826 have since recovered. So over 12,000 infections there in Nigeria.
Sure. When we began this, Miriam, I told you the truth.
Yes.
That there are countries that are hiding their data. And one of them is Nigeria. So have you now seen what is coming? We are right all along. We knew they were fictitiously working on the paperwork. So I hope somebody in Nigeria will pump some sense to Buhari.
Yes.
To wake up. Otherwise, Buhari seemed to have gone for sleep. But Kenya seem to have another 126 added. It hasn't been, the minister is talking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. No, that was for yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Today we don't have any. Not yet. So let's wait. The minister is about to announce how many people today have been affected or are under the microscope of COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
But there you are. There's nothing much to add on the question of Nigeria.
All right, so they're saying that they're ready to take us to the press conference there by CS of Health, Mutahi Kagwe. So I think we just cross over there right now.
At the same time, His Excellency the President directed that all counties must have at least a 300-bed facility for COVID-19. Now, this doesn't have to be one facility. It can be divided into several facilities, but add up to a minimum of that amount. Now, I would also like to mention that this is a minimum. There are those counties who have already got a higher capacity than this, Mombasa being an example, that has already got more than 300 beds, and you'd like to continue to urge that this be the case. In Nairobi, for example, most of the facilities we have been talking about have been essentially Ministry of Health facilities, as in Bagathi and KU. We now want also to move to county, Nairobi county facilities, including Mama Lucy Hospital and so on and so forth. So the Nairobi government, the Nairobi health sector is also been charged with the responsibility of ensuring that through the county health facilities, we also build that capacity over and above the government referral system. So today at our National Emergency Response Committee on Coronavirus, we proposed that the 47 county emergency response committees are to meet very urgently. As you know, they are shared by the governors and the county commissioners, that we urge them to take advantage of a 2-week period. Within the next 2 weeks, we accelerate and ensure that the directive of the minimum 300 beds is achieved, because it is very, very important that we do this. Otherwise, the extension in the time that the president gave, will not mean much. So we must make sure, as you are aware, we have dispatched money to the county governments. Originally, they were struggling. We have dispatched money, and we will continue to support. But I think that the idea of them being ready is crucial in the next phase of the management of this disease. And it becomes important because the numbers are not going down. The numbers are going up. Today, for example, is our highest ever report of 167 positive cases in the country out of some 2,833 samples tested. Now, it is also important for us to understand that this high number is also as a result of extremely targeted testing. When you look at the areas that these numbers come from, you'll see, for instance, there is a huge number from truck drivers in Busia and the other border counties. For instance, Nairobi has 54 cases. Mombasa has 47 cases, while Busia has 28 cases. Now, in the case of Busia, we realize that these are essentially truck drivers, but we are also going to have government direct intervention in the Busia County because of the rising numbers that they have got there. But even the other counties are also increasing in numbers, including counties like Kiambu, now growing at 14 new cases. Uasin Gishu with some 11 cases. At the Uasin Gishu, the 11 cases come from Soy. Soy has got 5. Tabo 3. and there is a case from Kapseret, from cases. So it's spreading in the counties, and this is why it is so critical that we ensure that counties begin to take responsibility. I think the test of a devolved system is going to be now, whether indeed devolution is going to work, whether indeed health as a devolved function is what it should be. I think this is a good test, and we are seeing a mixed bag of performances, with some counties doing extremely well and others lagging very far behind. So it is important that we all put it all together, and we have a general standard across the country so that each county has got sufficient capacity. In gender terms, we still continue to observe that the male gender is taking a huge percentage of these things, of these positives. I think more so because, for instance, when you look at truck drivers, almost all of them are male, and therefore today we have got a situation where 125 of the positive cases are male and 42 are female. Again, the reason why we keep on saying that those who are unwell, must quarantine themselves is because when you think about it, today, for instance, we have an 11-month-old baby who has turned positive. In terms of discharges, today we have also discharged some 46 patients, which is a good number for discharge, but I wish we were discharging as many as we are bringing in, which brings the number of recoveries now to 752. Sadly, we also lost one person, bringing the total of fatalities to 84. Fellow Kenyans, as we continue to combat COVID-19, I wish also to acknowledge the long-standing partnership between civil society, professional organizations, media, development partners, with the Ministry of Health against fighting another case, another serious disease in our country, which is cancer. Today, we celebrate the National Cancer Survivors Day, an annual event held globally to honor cancer survivors and to show that indeed life after cancer diagnosis is possible and can be fruitful, rewarding, and inspiring. This day is an opportunity also to raise awareness about cancer and the importance of screening for early diagnosis. If we are to achieve better treatment outcomes and cancer survivorships, the key is early diagnosis. Our survivors prove that cancer is not all gloom and doom, and that indeed we can overcome cancer if we avoid risk factors such as tobacco, excessive alcohol use, as well as seeking health care early enough. As we celebrate life, we will continue to engage in addressing the ongoing challenges of cancer survivorship to promote resources, research, and legislation that will improve cancer survivors' quality of life in line with the universal health coverage agenda. In conclusion, let me repeat my appeal. We must be vigilant. We can beat this virus through solidarity, cooperation of the measures that we have given. We must behave responsibly to shape the story of this pandemic. By doing so, we will leave no one behind. Ningetaka tu, before I continue, I would like to invite my colleague, Dr. Kuti, just say a few words. As you know, Dr. Kuti, Governor Kuti is the chairman of the Health Committee of the Council of Governors. Dr. Kuti.
Thank you, Waziri. First, I would like to start by thanking His Excellency the President, and I think all Kenyans, we appreciate the agony the president is going through to balance the lives of his citizens vis-a-vis the livelihoods of the same citizens. And I think the direction he gave is a balance to ensure that there's no explosion in terms of the way this disease will
bring us back.
All right, thank you so much. That was today's update there by our CS for Health, Mr. Mutahi Kagwe, who has given the latest cases that have been confirmed in the country of over 2,000 samples that have been taken for the last 24 hours. 167 cases have tested positive for COVID-19, and this sets a new, high here in the country. 167. This is the highest cases that have been reported in 24 hours here in the country. So, of course, the tally there now is close to 2,800. So thank you so much, Doctor. What do you make of this new number? So President Uhuru Kenyatta was right to, refuse to open Nairobi to the rest of the country.
Look, Nairobi 54, Mombasa 47, Busia 28, Kiambu 14, UG 11, Kisumu 4, Machakos 3, Migori, Homa Bay, Kwale, Siaya, Turkana have 1 each. Total figure 167, the highest so far today. Commercial Corona. Stop Corona. Commercial. Thank you.
Daniel. Commercial Corona, indeed. Yes.
Yes, I think the numbers are exceptionally high, and that goes on to justify the president's decision to extend the measures that he had earlier on put in place. So let's keep vigilant. Let's observe the measures, and perhaps that is the only way you'll be able to see this number going down.
All right, thank you so much, and we shall look at the rest of that press conference tomorrow on our morning show, Daytime Express. Thank you so much. This has been Africa Showdown, and we've been looking at the topic: should the government open up? The restrictions, and we saw yesterday some were extended and some were lifted. The lockdowns across some of the few places in Kenya, Eastleigh, but in Mombasa, Old Town, I think, is still there. So thank you so much. We meet here tomorrow for Daytime Express. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, viewers. My name, full names, Dr. David Mathanga. This station is for Africa, with Africa, by Africa, and with Daniel Wesonga. We call it a day. Cheers. God bless you, people. Don't do cleansing and come to the Bible. Take one side. Either you carry the Bible or you go to your rituals. Don't insult us who have carried the Bible for 50 years. Please, come slowly, slowly. Nobody's eliminating you. Nobody's segregating you. The seat is open for you. Why do you panic? Fight with others to get it. The Tinga is around. So, Your Excellency, Dr. William Ruto, in good advice, as I summarize, just go slowly. Hii mambo ya kufanya vitu vingine mbaya hapana mzuri. Go slowly, mtapishana, sisi tutawaangalia. Sisi wengine tuko observers. And I'm Jubilee, friend of Jubilee people. But where the president took us is unity. President Uhuru Kenyatta wants to live a united Kenya, not a Kenya where cleansing is done or where rituals are done. Then later on, they are used against us as victims. You saw what happened. The chief prosecutor says it's a black magic. Wazungu tabled evidence of black magic. There is no black magic here. Ritual is a ritual, like manhood to childhood to manhood. That's a good ritual. But this one, ya kufanya kama ni wanasema toa nini sio kimbia mara 10. Watu wengine wako na rooms, special rooms. Wanaweka hii vitu inafanya. Is this where we have reached? Is this where we have reached? Is this where Africa has reached? All this is in the name of grabbing this of a president. Surely? What for? What about if God has not prepared? Even me, I want to be a president. But I reached a certain stage and I saw that my children struggle for it. I gave up. My firstborn, 2, 3 of my children want to stand in the constituency where I was born. One speaks, 2 of them speak very nice English. So the people there are asking me, which one do you want? Is that not the majority? You can't struggle for a constituency, David Matanga. After all I have done for this nation, great one, Kenya, Uganda, Africa, Zimbabwe, I can't go back to become an MP. That is lowering my greed. It's better to support my younger children, to go in parliament. When I see him on TV debating wrongly, I will cane him when he comes home, because I have taught them manners on how to debate, not to insult people, but to use package that pains you more. I thank you, Miriam. I thank you, the rest, and we thank the president for having opened the curfew. Tomorrow, we shall do extra programs in the afternoon because our curfew has been extended to 9 o'clock. So we believe we shall start a show at 6 up to 7. And we go. Especially me and Stephen. Miriam can go home and do, as long as she's done the rest of for us. We have got to struggle on. By 2 o'clock, we need to have a show. A nice show, 2 to 3. A well-organized show of where people can laugh and they are, you know, they are this, what are they called? Ribs. You know, laughter also cures a lot of this COVID.
They say laughter is the best medicine.
Yes, it cures COVID. There is no medicine for COVID. So you have to try all tactics. Laugh a bit. So we shall bring uncensored, like the pictures of the deputy president being seen naked, half naked, dancing very early in the morning. Later, to wake up. Like the clip of a court receiving money. Later, you have seen how Okot was caught and he is panicking. By the way, Miriam, I forgotten to tell our viewers, our show of Friday has caused a lot of, over 2,000 people have called me from Friday up to this morning, saying the topic was spot on. They knew, they have information. In fact, they have told me, David, don't go far. We have this We did not sign this document. Our names are there, but we never signed the signatures. So have you seen the Pandora box we have opened? I want to thank you, my people. Miriam, we are in the book of Genesis. Genesis, book of inventory.
Records.
Of signatures. Kumbe, they just picked the list from the same IEBC and then sat down. So this person has provided even in the Kenyans, they have provided, you know what? Even the pictures of signature men, people working 24 hours to sign papers of other people's signatures. So Okuro Court was calling me a very bad name. But me, he has written to me on WhatsApp. He called me. His telephone ends with 04407, and he insulted me. But being a mature man, I did not answer him because I don't carry rucksack bag. My shoes are not from George Soros. My shoes are hard-earned. And I started earning when he was in the mother's tomb. Or womb. No, womb, yes. So I'm okay. I did not answer. Maybe I've been insulted. That's why I'm quiet. I'm just telling you, I've taken the brunt of all these things. But we have opened a very good debate. There are so many, I think, Daniel, you have heard, so many people are going to court to find out whether the signatures, who signed them, to be displayed name by signature. So Okoro Court, if I were you, would handle Matsanga nicely so that he doesn't continue to talk with his mouth. Because the more you insult me, the thing that I'm releasing on Tuesday, you won't like it. I want to thank you very much. Miriam, have a good weekend. Have a good Sunday. Continue with those prayers for me. I'm in a catch-22, just like the president was. We are all right decision. But the president did a very good thing not to open this thing. Mr. President, let no minister tell you to open. It is very bad out here. People are eating, wanakula nyama usiku. Wanagonga Jameson usiku, wanagonga griff. What is this thing called? Griff. Fidget ready pot. Wow, the kula chupa usiku. Your Excellency, they are doing it. Please don't open. Let's hear of vaccine first. Then you can release them, go. Even when the 21 days come, 30, don't. Because there's no plane going away. All planes are opening around August, September. Ndio hata sisi wengine ndio to fly. Me to sit in 8 hours to arrive London in the air hiyo konjuni ina mix namna hivi. Unafika huko you are already dead. No way. Wacha nikaa hapa kwanza. Niangalie first flight, second flight. I will use my remote. What is it called, Miriam? You think that sits down when there is nobody. What is it called? You control it from the ground.
Yes, the what do you call it? Yeah.
Rwanda is using them to supply water. Eh?
Yeah.
Drones, yeah.
Yes, a drone.
I'm sending a drone in the plane first. Condition, air, this. Thank you very much, my people. Bye-bye. That's the story of Pachula in Africa. See you in the morning. Lovely, lovely, lovely Miriam. Thank you, lovely Wesonga. Take care, my son. Take care, my daughter. My bigger daughter. Because
see you tomorrow.
The name is the same as my daughter.
Your first daughter, yes.
Miriam is my firstborn. Thank you very much, all of you. God bless you. Thank you.